Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Winter and this is the channel Winter Heart, where I do a lot of things related to books and writing and crafting and art and sometimes video games. Today my video is actually going to be my Winter 2019 Book Rec Bonanza entry. If you don't know, the Book Rec Bonanza is a Twitter-based book event that's new to this year. As they describe themselves on Twitter in their Twitter account, which is what I'm looking at right now, it is spreading love and book recommendations to booktubers large and small. I'm going to read their intro thread. First of all, what is Book Rec Bonanza? It is an effort to spread love and holiday cheer to booktubers through the Bookternet's favorite pastime, recommending books. There are two ways to participate if you want personalized book recs. Number one is for booktubers, you sign up to give and receive book recommendations, and two, for Twitter users, submit a request for a book rec spotlight. I did the second one first, and then I did the first one second, out of order, of course. When I signed up to have like a book rec spotlight or whatever, I think I was like the first one that they spotlighted. I believe I only got like one recommendation. I was looking for, I think, like Magical School with like maybe dragons, and somebody recommended Hex Hall for me. I was just one recommendation. It's fine. It's totally cool. Like, they were just getting started. Since then, I feel like they've grown a little bit more. And it's only been like half a month since they joined Twitter. So I did sign up to give and receive book recommendations as well. It's kind of like a secret Santa. It says the main part of it, the booktube part, will run like a secret Santa, like I just said. You will enter, receive an assignment, and then make a shout out video recommending books to your assigned giftee. The second part of this event will be book rec requests. You can request recommendations on any type of book you're looking for, and we'll put it out to our followers to recommend you books. Plus, your request can be anonymous or not. Some dates. The Twitter book rec requests will be open from November 27th until December 31st, 2019. For the actual Bonanza, the booktube part of it, submissions for matching were open until December 7th, and then the assignments were handed out by December 14th, and the videos need to be posted by December 22nd. I'm hoping to be able to post this video on December 22nd, so if you see this on there, then you know that I was successful with that. They want to also try to open it up to other platforms next year to spread all the bookish love, but they did want to keep it to just Twitter and BookTube for the first year, just to see how things work out. So, with all of that preamble, I'm sure you all are wondering exactly who it was that I was personally assigned to recommend books to. I was a little bit surprised, not in a bad way, but mostly because I know that they're like a bigger booktuber than I am. Like, I am a very small booktuber. I was just a little starstruck, just a little. When I received my assignment for the book recommendation, we are to recommend at least 3 books that fulfill some, most of, or all of the assigned person's tastes. Like me, I said that I like magic school settings, I like queer romances, I like found family, some other stuff. I listed a whole lot on mine. I did make sure to specify that I am good for YA or middle grade recommendations, and that is what my chosen person has requested as well for their recommendations. My person is Brody from the channel @2Brody. I was just kind of like, because like I've seen them around on book Twitter a lot and occasionally on BookTube. I hadn't really gotten around to watching a lot of their videos because they just didn't show up too much in my subscription feed because of the weirdness of the algorithm. They had listed some videos that could reference like what kind of taste they have in books. So once I watched those, I was like, wow, I need to watch all of their videos. So I'll be doing that. This video goes out to Brody. Hi Brody, I want to wish you a very happy holidays. You didn't want anything with explicit rape scenes or depictions of eating disorders. That's totally understandable. I wouldn't want to read those either. I know that you want recommendations in the YA and middle grade genres, the genres within those genres, to revolve around fantasy, romance, sci-fi, or horror. The 3 main ones that I'm going to be recommending, they encompass some of all of that, but it's like dispersed throughout each story. I'll just get to that in a second. Like I said, there's no explicit rape scenes or depictions of disorders. I did look up trigger warnings and content warnings just to be safe, because some of these books I have not actually personally read yet. All of these books are on my TBR. You said that you enjoy high fantasy with morally gray protagonists, oceanic sci-fi / horror. This is like in quotations, so I'm going to say it with quotations. It says, the small town has ghosts / witches / a monster, soft queer romances, and fairy tale retellings. Boy, do I have a lot of possible recommendations. Most of them, again, I have not read. However, I want to recommend these 3 main books and then a couple bonus recommendations. I don't really know if you have or have not read any of these at this point. The first main recommendation is The Near Witch. So I haven't actually read The Near Witch, which I believe is her debut novel. It fulfills that sort of like request of yours, stories where it's like the small town has ghosts, witches, a monster. The trigger warnings include blood, bullet wound, physical violence, self-harm, descripted only in the additional short story The Ashbourne Boy. The Near Witch is only an old story told to frighten children. If the wind calls at night, you must not listen. The wind is lonely and always looking for company. There are no strangers in the town of Near. These are the truths that Lexi has heard all her life. But when an actual stranger, a boy who seems to fade like smoke, appears outside her home on the moor at night, she knows that at least one of these sayings is no longer true. The next night, the children of Near start disappearing from their beds, and the mysterious boy falls under suspicion. As the hunt for the children intensifies, so does Lexi's need to know about the witch that just might be more than a bedtime story, about the wind that seems to speak through the walls at night, and about the history of this nameless boy. Like I said, this fulfills the whole small town has witches or a monster or ghosts. I can think of another book off the top of my head that I also have not read but sort of fulfills that as well as like a bonus recommendation. It would be The City of Ghosts by V.E. Schwab, and that's a middle grade book. Here's what the actual inside front cover is too. Ever since Cass almost drowned, okay, she did drown, but she doesn't like to think about it, she can pull back the veil that separates the living from the dead and enter the world of spirits. Her best friend is even a ghost. So things are already pretty strange, but they're about to get stranger. When Cass's parents start hosting a TV show about the world's most haunted places, family heads off to Edinburgh, Scotland. Here, graveyards, castles, and secret passageways teem with restless phantoms, and when Cass meets a girl who shares her gift, she realizes how much she still has to learn about the Veil and herself, and she'll have to learn fast. The City of Ghosts is more dangerous than she ever imagined. Victoria Schwab delivers a thrillingly spooky and action-packed tale of hauntings, history, mystery, and the bond between friends, even if that friend is a ghost. So, The Near Witch by Marissa Meyer is my first official recommendation, and then my bonus recommendation is City of Ghosts by V.E. Schwab, which has a sequel. It's called Tunnel of Bones, I believe. On to my second recommendation. This fulfills kind of the small town with witches request, as well as there's like some soft queer romance in it. This is the one that I have read personally. These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. It's basically about this teen witch named Hannah has this very strained relationship with her ex-girlfriend Veronica. They'd been like best friends for years before they'd turned into girlfriends. They like grew up together and all that. And they broke up because they both went to New York at one point, and a blood witch captured and threatened Hannah, and Veronica basically gaslit her and such about it. Veronica still desperately wants to be together with Hannah, but Hannah is like, no, you know, it's totally like not happening. So one day at like a, not really a camp out, party in the woods that's supposed to celebrate the seniors graduating from high school, and Veronica and Hannah, they get in an argument. While they're arguing, somebody comes across what looks like a blood ritual, and Veronica discreetly uses her magic to try to clean up the blood, get rid of the ritual's makeshift altar. And since that night, there have been continued attacks targeting Veronica as well as Hannah and their families. At first, they believe it's the blood witch come back to like finish her business from New York, but then it's revealed that it's witch hunters. The whole story is essentially about trying to find out who the witch hunters are, or who the witch hunter is if they're working alone, and why they're targeting them, and like why they're suddenly active again after centuries of being inactive, supposedly. It also has to deal with Veronica and Hannah's like strained relationship. And then when Morgan, this new girl in town, enters the mix, like Hannah's life starts turning around until something happens. Not because of Morgan, because of the hunters specifically. It turns out that Morgan is more than what she seems, and Hannah has to deal with like her lingering feelings and like attraction to Veronica, as well as her growing feelings for Morgan. It's pretty high stakes, pretty mystery based, and the romance in it, it's like pretty soft. I liked it. I thought it was well done. Hannah is a lesbian, I believe Veronica's a lesbian. Morgan is bisexual. They're all women. They all identify as women. I read that this summer during Reading Rush and I really enjoyed it. I cannot recommend it enough. I watched your Queer Lit from A to Z video and I did not see or hear you reference this one, so I was wondering if you've read it, and if you haven't, you totally should check it out. And then my third main recommendation is actually another book that I have yet to read but that I actually own. It's called Crier's War by Nina Varela. You may or may not have heard of this book just through BookTube in general because of how well it was received. Crier's War actually fulfills, as far as I can tell, the high fantasy with morally gray protagonist request category. It also is kind of sci-fi because it has to do with like androids, a world with androids. I'm not sure if it's a little bit of a fairy tale retelling, but I've heard that the queer romance in it, it's between two women, is pretty soft, pretty nice. It's another book that I had not heard or seen you mention yet. So the synopsis is, after the War of Kinds ravaged the kingdom of Rabu, the Atomai, designed to be the playthings of royals, usurped their owners' estates and bent the human race to their will. Now Ayla, a human servant rising in the ranks at the house of the sovereign, dreams of avenging her family's death by killing the sovereign's daughter, Lady Crier. Crier was made to be beautiful, flawless, and to carry on her father's legacy, but that was before her betrothal to the enigmatic Sire Kinnock, before she discovered her father isn't the benevolent king she once admired, and most importantly, before she met Ayla. Now, with growing human unrest across the land, pressures from a foreign queen, and an evil new leader on the rise, Crier and Ayla find there may be only one path to love: war. So it's fantasy, it's sci-fi, it's queer. I looked up the trigger warnings, the content warnings for this. Discussions of war, discussions of the suffering of exploitation of humans, off-screen death of family, off-screen death of minor characters. The diversity includes lesbian POC main character, a bi POC main character, POC cast throughout, and then secondary character relationships include M/M and F/F. I personally have not read this yet, but if you are interested in hearing more about this book, I recommend checking out Allie with Books' channel. I believe she read this book in 24 hours or less and vlogged about it. I don't believe she spoils any of it. It's just like her experience of reading it. I'll link her down below. And then on to my bonus recommendations. The first main bonus one that I have to recommend would be Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. A world divided, a queendom without an heir, an ancient enemy awakens. The house of Berethnet has ruled Innis for 1,000 years. Still unwed, Queen Sabran IX must conceive a daughter to protect her realm from destruction, but assassins are getting closer to her door. Ea Durian is an outsider at court. Though she has risen to the power of lady in waiting, she is loyal to a hidden society of mages. Aed keeps a watchful eye on Sabran, secretly protecting her with forbidden magic. Across the Dark Sea, Tane has trained all her life to be a dragon rider, but is forced to make a choice that could see her life unravel. Meanwhile, the divided East and West refuse to parley, and forces of chaos are rising from their sleep. Doesn't seem to have a clear ending, but I have this book. I have yet to read it. It's been on my TBR all year, but I've just been too intimidated because it is a thick book. It is ginormous. But I have been told by people who have read it that it is queer. It features a relationship between two women. I believe that's the main relationship. The trigger warnings and content warning include death by earthquake, infertility, suicide ideation, dead bodies, discussion of suicide, and miscarriage. I guess it's a retelling of the legends surrounding St. George, the patron saint of England. And then another recommendation that came to mind while I was reading your request was House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig. I actually read this one early October this year. It's basically a fairy tale retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses. I was not familiar with that story, but essentially it has to deal with this girl named Annalie and her search for how and why her sisters keep dying under mysterious circumstances, and she gets embroiled in going to balls with her sisters outside of the island that they live on. There's a lot of magic. There's some romance, but there was no queer romance, and I have no idea if Aaron A. Craig is planning on writing a sequel. For what it is, and it's a good standalone. It is a fairy tale retelling. It's got some oceanic horror though. Like there's just like a dab of horror towards the end. It deals with possession. It deals with an unreliable narrator. There's a morally gray antagonist. It's got a mystery. It's got high fantasy elements of a pantheon of gods that are actually real and magic that works and actually happens. And there's ghosts in the story. And then going off of the fairy tale retellings again, obviously you could easily say that the first book in A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J Maas is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but I don't really entirely want to recommend that, only because of my own reasons, because I've talked about that book so much on this channel. Also, A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer, which I have not yet personally read, and that's another Beauty and the Beast retelling, more along the formula of a Beauty and the Beast retelling. That one features a main character with cerebral palsy. And then my last recommendation includes high fantasy with morally gray protagonists, and it's the Cruel Prince trilogy. The Folk of the Air trilogy is what it's called, but like it starts with the book The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I am not sure if you've read this or if you're interested in it, but Jude Duarte is the main girl character. She's also the narrator, and she is so morally gray. One of the more popular quotes from this series is actually, "If I cannot become better than them, then I will become so much worse." The third book in that series, The Queen of Nothing, has recently come out. I believe it's implied, but it's not explicitly stated, that Cardan and most, if not all, of the other fae are pansexual, but I'm not sure. Don't believe it's explicitly stated. I wanted to make sure that you had options in case you didn't like some of the recommendations of mine. I tried to make sure that the main books that I recommended you fulfilled your requests, as well as they didn't depict any rape scenes or eating disorders. Two of my three main ones that I recommended, they feature queer characters, so there's that too, whether it be romance or otherwise. The bonus ones, I think like one of them is queer, so I give you quite a lot, and I hope that you enjoy what I recommended you. I'm sorry if it's not to your liking or to your taste. Happy holidays, and hope you enjoy them. Thank you so much for watching, and to everyone else who's watching, and I hope to see you all in another video of mine very, very soon. Happy holidays! Bye everyone!